What's up, everybody? Well, I got another Asus G15 Advantage gameplay video for you guys today. And today, we're gonna check out Lord of the Rings Gollum. Now, I just went in and downloaded the latest drivers for that game, so we shouldn't have a problem there. So, our basic plan here, we're gonna do 1080p first. We'll try maxing it out, see if it can get 60 FPS plus. If it can, we'll just cruise through like we usually do, get some camera record gameplay, move on to 1440. If it can't, like the Steam Deck, we'll go through all of the settings and do FSR as well. So, why don't we go ahead, go grab the capture computer cord, hook it on up, and we'll see what's what.
Well, alright. Before we hop into the game, let's look at the settings. We're going to play at 1080p full screen, and we're going to start off on Epic just to see if it can handle it. It probably can't, but it's worth a shot. Let's turn that on. There we go. Apply. And we'll do ray tracing at the end. This wasn't even an option on the Steam Deck. Not like it would have been good at all after seeing how it ran anyway, but it wasn't an option regardless. And we'll do FSR at the end, if necessary. We'll see how it plays on Epic. It might just play 60 FPS plus the whole time. But only one way to know for sure. Well, alright, here we go. Still in the little beginning of the game. Oh, wow, down to 40? Just turning around? Well, that's no good. Well, it can't handle the 60. That's a shame, not on Epic anyway. Well, my disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is now ruined. No, in all seriousness, I wasn't really expecting this to work very well. This isn't exactly the laptop where you can just throw everything on Epic, even at 1080p, and expect AAA titles to run flawlessly. Usually you gotta do a little tweaking, but you can still have a perfectly playable experience, as long as the game isn't an unoptimized pile of garbage anyway. But hopefully, once we get off of Epic, we lose some of these stutters here. Do not like the stutters. I can deal with, you know, like around 60 FPS, maybe dropping down to like 58 or 59 every once in a while, but can't deal with dropping down to 40s. It does it around this one area over here, like all the time. Anyway, though, I think that's plenty. So let's just go right up here. And then we can move on, and we'll drop it down to high now, I think. Well, we're going to drop it down to high now here. Still going to leave it at 1080p. We're not going to do FSR or anything until the end. And we'll do ray tracing. We might as well just go through all the settings. If we're going to drop the settings down once, we might as well go through them all. That's pretty much my rule. Anyway, though, that's the bottom. So, why don't we go see how high does? High might be perfectly playable. All right, here we are in the game. On high. And so far, so good. Getting a lot better FPS here. Yeah, this thing's generally more of a high kind of thing. If you want to just stick with presets, generally high works out pretty good in most AAA titles. Just don't turn ray tracing on whatever you do. Ray tracing is a no-go on these kinds of AMD GPUs. Now, the 7000 series ones can somewhat do ray tracing, at least halfway competently. They're kind of like, they seem to be right around the same level as my 3090. Man, I'm bad at this. You'd think after running around this area like 1,000 times on the Steam Deck, I could actually get across this bitch. There we go. Alright. Where do I want to go now? Oh, indecisiveness. There we go. We'll go this way again. Fuck it. I don't really want to continue on yet. This seems like a decent area to stay. We'll just stay here with all of the different systems. That way we can compare them all equally, not just to different areas. I know it's not as interesting as just playing the game, but it makes a lot more sense when you're trying to do these benchmark runs. Now, if anybody ever wants me to just run around and actually play the game, just let me know. I can totally do that. Okay, now we're dropping it down to medium. Still at 1080p, though. Let's go ahead and turn that off. If we're on medium and trying to get more FPS, having hair stimulate or a simulation is not going to be a good thing to have on, I don't think. Anyway, though, we've reached the bottom, so now let's go see how medium does. Well, now we are on medium, so let's just run around again, although frames seem very similar to just being on high, so I don't really see the point in dropping down to just the preset of medium. You might turn a thing or two down to medium to save a frame or two, but It doesn't really seem worth it. Might as well just play on high, but we'll still get a teensy bit of gameplay here. Now, as you can see running around this cave, you see one of the problems with FSR, the shimmering. Or not shimmering from FSR, but that's just one of the problems with some games in general. I don't know why I said FSR, we're not on FSR yet. But it makes that kind of stuff really, really bad. The shimmering is just from supposedly the wet rain and whatnot. But it makes it way more crazy once you turn FSR on, as you shall see. Unless they fix that. Maybe they fixed that by now. You never know. Anyway, to the next graphics setting. Now we're on low, which is the last graphics preset. So let's just cruise through these settings real quick, and we'll hop back into the game after that and see how these run, although it'll probably be very similar to medium. And there we are, that's the bottom, so back to the game we go. Now we are on low, and as I suspected, we're getting about the same FPS we were on medium and high, so you might as well just play on high and turn maybe a setting or two down. That's probably what I'm going to do for my settings. But honestly, even on low, the game doesn't look that awful. But that's because we're not at 720p blowing up the image, but still, even blowing up the image like this makes 1080p look not as great as it does just on the laptop screen. Just being honest. Now, see, one of the problems with turning things down, like view distance down to low, is you get a lot of pop-in. If you guys notice, as we're running around, like rocks and grass and whatnot, it's just kind of popping in and out of nowhere. Now, I don't care if it does that where I can't even really see it, but when it's happening right in my face, that's kind of distracting, at least for me personally. Seems to be doing a better job now, but I was definitely seeing it while we were walking up there. Alright though, why don't we now move on FSR? Actually, I completely forgot. Let's do some ray tracing first, so we're going to just max the game out, why not? I don't think ray tracing is the kind of thing you're going to want to turn on unless you're going to have it on high or on Epic, Ultra, or what have you. So now let's go and see how it plays. Alright, here we go with ray tracing turned on, and it's pretty much a slideshow here, as far as I'm concerned. Now, you might be able to get like 30 FPS if you turn it down to high instead of Epic, but I don't want to play a game on a PC like this laptop at 30 FPS or 40 FPS. It's got to be 60 FPS plus, preferably plus, seeing as though it does have a 300 Hz screen, so you're not going to get any screen tearing really.
We hates this light. Hates it.
Me hates this jump. You'd think I'd be perfect at it by now, all the times I've done it, but nope. Alright, and now it's time for FSR. Well, alright, so we're going to do FSR now. So again, we're just going to leave the game on Epic. If we're going to have to use FSR or something, I would prefer to just max the game out. On something like this laptop anyway, if it's necessary. But it's not really necessary, but figured we'd just be thorough here. At least at 1080p. Might be necessary at 1440. We'll have to wait till we get to that video. Anyway, to the game. Oh, here we go. With FSR on quality here. And we're getting 100 FPS plus, so definitely not bad if you want a 100 FPS plus experience. I don't really need the FSR though. I can just leave the game on high-ish settings. And we can get 90 FPS, probably 80 to 90 FPS would be my guess with my settings, but we'll have to wait till we get to that portion. We still got some FSR to do first. This is just quality after all. We gotta do balanced, performance, and ultra performance. Though I have a feeling they'll probably all be about the same FPS as this, seeing as though we're just gonna, after this, we're just gonna get like more and more CPU bottlenecked. The more and lower we lower the resolution anyway. Even now, as you can tell, it bottlenecks now. Because that's just what happens. You go to 720p, which I believe that's what quality is. It might be some weird one in between 720p and 1080p, but anyway, to the next one. Now we will tone the FSR down to some balanced, but we're leaving the rest of the game on epic. Just no ray tracing. No matter what, I don't think you're going to get playable FPS with ray tracing, no matter what you do in this game on this laptop anyway. Anyway, though, as you can see, there we go with balanced. And with that, we've reached the bottom, so now I'm curious. Let's go find out how it does. Here we go with some FSR balanced now. And as I suspected, we're getting about the same performance we were getting before. So I think if you're on the 1080p version of this thing, don't bother going any lower than quality FSR, if you're going to use FSR at all. I don't think it's really that necessary on this particular game at 1080p. We'll have to wait and see what the 1440p version holds, but that is the next video after this after all, so you guys won't have to wait long, and I'm basically going to launch all these the same day. As soon as I get them done, I'm going to upload them all, and as soon as they're done processing and I get them their descriptions and everything done, I'm just going to launch them like an hour or two apart from another. That's what I usually do with these new games. I don't want to wait until the middle of next month or something, which is where I'm pretty much at with the rest of my videos, and then have this game be last week's news and have no clicks. Most people only care about stuff like this like the week or two after the game comes out, or if a big update comes out that fixed a bunch of performance bugs, but so far I don't think this game is really that bad running. It doesn't seem to be really unoptimized. Screw you, I'll get up there. See, I told you. I got up there. They wanted me to go the right way, but I said, fuck you. Anyway, though, let's move on. Well, now it's time to do FSR on performance. And this is the point where it starts looking absolutely awful, both, you know, blown up like this and on the screen itself. But, in any case, let's go find out how bad it looks and see if we're getting about the same FPS we were getting before. FSR Performance now. And there's bits where it gets like really high FPS, but for the most part it seems to be right about the same FPS it was at before. All just while looking way worse. I mean, maybe we got a couple more FPS here. But I'm pretty, if I remember correctly, that's about what we were getting before, at least over here. But there might be a place or two where we got like 4 or 5 FPS more, but hard to really tell. That's why I generally don't use FSR on 1080p. Now, if I wanted to do something at 1440p, that's a whole nother story. Sometimes you do have to do that on this laptop for the newer games. It's just getting a little older, but that 12 gigs of VRAM really helps, and the fact that it has an 8-core, 16-thread processor also helps. Now, there are faster processors out there, but as far as gaming is concerned, it's not that big of a difference. Like, going to a 12th gen isn't going to get you, like, or a 13th gen probably isn't going to get you, like, 50 extra FPS in the same game with the same GPU, you know? That's pretty much what I'm saying. But there are times at 1080p where this thing does bottleneck even when you're just trying to, like, max everything. But that doesn't happen too often in newer titles anyway. But we're back to here, so why don't we go ahead and tone it back down to the last FSR. Last up for FSR, we have FSR Ultra Performance, so just showing you everything else is still the same on Epic. We wouldn't try and pull any funny business right at the end, no siree. So there you go, Ultra Performance FSR, and now it's to that game. Well, now we are on FSR Ultra Performance, and just like I said with the Steam Deck video, I think there's a video game somewhere on these pixels. It literally looks like somebody smeared Vaseline all over my screen right now. Along with the fact that it looks kind of like a PS2 game. But 240p or whatever the hell this is will do that. It's probably 360 or 480p or something at this point. I'm not really sure. It's hard to remember what all the different ratios are. Anyway, though, let's just run around a little bit, just like we did for the rest of the FSR settings, and then we'll go ahead and do my settings after this. But no, seems to be about the same FPS too, so you're not really going to get any better FPS than just doing FSR quality. But I don't think it's really necessary. Not at 1080p anyway. I know I probably sound like a broken record for the people that are just sitting here watching through the whole thing, but I know a lot of people just skip through, see what they're setting they want, and then close the video. And that's totally fine. That's why I made these videos. And if I do that, that's still a view. And if they like what they saw, they might even give me a thumb up. But I never ever ask for comments, thumbs up, or any of that stuff. Because as I'm sitting there watching YouTube, I don't think, or I'm usually turned off when people sit there and tell me the whole rigmarole of, like this video, comment, thumbs up, do all this stuff. It's like, well, if somebody likes you, they're going to do that anyway, man. Anyway, though, now to my settings. Well, now for my settings. So, let's just cruise through them real quick here. Turn a couple things on high, some things on medium. And we don't need FSR on 1080p. So now that we got to the bottom, let's go see how my settings do. Well, alright, here we go with my settings now. Get ourselves a little screen recorded gameplay, and then we'll hop on over to the camera after we get a minute or so of this. But I think my settings look pretty damn good. And we're getting well over 60 FPS, so that's good. I, for one, don't need no 150 FPS in a game like this to have fun. As long as it's 60 plus and it doesn't stutter like crazy, I'm a happy guy. And so far this game doesn't seem to be stutter city. Every once in a blue moon on all my systems you'll see just a little blip. But I'll take that over how games generally run nowadays. And I was really thinking this was going to be just a terrible experience, just stutter city, and I was actually very surprised to be wrong. Now I'm not going to sit here and say it's the most optimized game known to man, but it doesn't seem to be doing horrible. We're not stuttering like crazy. We're not dropping frames like crazy. We're not we're not crashing or anything. I haven't had one single crash this whole time I've done on any system I've played this on. And yeah, I'm only getting like a minute or so of each footage, but I'm still sitting into the game sometimes for like 10 minutes just doing something else before I start recording, and still no crashes or anything, so that's always good. Games like The Last of Us would crash all the time. But alright. Now why don't we go ahead, now that we're back here, and switch over to camera.
Well, alright guys, let's get ourselves a little camera recorded gameplay now, just to show you what that's like. Because when I hook it up to the capture computer, it's like having it in an external monitor. Although, as we saw, external monitor doesn't help too much at 1080p. It's more of a 1440p thing. Excuse me, I said that backwards. It's more of a 1080p thing. Because when you're on 1440p, it didn't really seem to matter that much. 1080p it mattered, but only in certain games. It seemed to be more like the esports kind of games, or first-person shooters, and any of that kind of stuff. But for single-player games like this, the external monitor doesn't generally help out very much. As you can see here, we're getting about the same FPS. We're not getting like way bigger lag spikes or frame time spikes than we were before, so. Definitely seems like it could be an interesting game. But I'm not gonna lie, for the graphic levels, I was expecting more FPS. But at least it's smooth. I'll take it over stutter fucking city, you know, like other games have been. Cough, cough, Last of Us, cough, cough, Calcido, Protocol, cough, cough, Jedi Last Survivor, yeah, all of those. Oh, and don't forget Wulong, holy shit. That game made Elden Ring's like lag spikes seem fucking amazing. Really good in comparison, you know? Anyway though, let's get to a more lit place. And I think that's a good time to end. That's kind of interesting. We made Gollum disappear there. It's like a magic trick. We'll make Gollum disappear. But anyway, let's go wrap the video on up. Well, alright guys, that is a wrap for Lord of the Rings Gollum on the Asus G15 Advantage. Well, at least at 1080p anyway. We're still going to do 1440p, don't worry about that. I know there's both models, so other than the screen, they're the exact same. Well, some of the newer models come with a better processor, better bin and all that stuff, but that's besides the point. Still essentially the same stuff, just better binned. Anyway though, that is all we got for this particular video, so it's time for me to now wrap this up so I can move on to 1440p. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, because I sure as hell enjoyed making it for you guys. And until the next video, peace out, guys.